This is chapter 10, section 2, problem 17. The contingency table shows the results of a random sample of former smokers by the number of times they tried to quit smoking before they were habit-free. At alpha, that is the level of significance there, equal to 0.10, can you conclude that the number of times they tried to quit before they were habit-free is related to gender? So the number of times they tried, can you conclude that the number of times they tried to quit before they were habit-free is related to gender? Assume, perform the indicated chi-square independence test by completing parts A through E below. Okay. For a chi-square test of independence, the null hypothesis is always a statement of the dependence of the variables. For the null hypothesis here, the number of times the smokers tried to quit is independent of gender. The alternative hypothesis is that the number of times they tried to quit is dependent on gender. The claim is is a statement that researchers believe, and the claim is the alternative hypothesis. Okay. And they ask us here to determine the degrees of freedom. Okay. Find the critical value and identify the rejection region here. So in this case here, you have what? The degrees of freedom is going to be rows by column. So -1. So we have the number of rows -1 times the number of columns -1. So here we have, that's 2 there. That'll be 1 times 3 minus 1 is 2. So we have 1 times 2, which is 2. So degrees of freedom is 2 here. Okay. Now they want us to find the critical value. So we can do that by finding critical value here. You can go to StatCrunch here and select StatCrunch. And there's your data. We can go to Stat and then Calculators. And then chi-square. And we already know that our degrees of freedom here is 2. Now we're dealing with a chi-square distribution. We're always dealing with it from the right. And our alpha in this case is 0 degrees of freedom, and we have the area underneath the curve. And we want to find out what that chi-squared value is going to be, critical value, and we compute. And our chi-squared value, their critical value is 4.605, and that's what they have there. That's how they got that part of it. So since we're concerned about the right here, that's our critical value. You want to see where our actual value is going to land. So it'll be here, so it'll be above. So it'll be greater than. The next thing here they want us to do is to calculate the test statistic. So what we do is we go up to stacked and tables, contingency tables with summary. And select my columns there. And select the rows, gender. And I'll just go ahead and put here expected count. And go down a little further. Select chi-square test for independence. Then I hit compute. And there's my test statistic here. There's the area underneath it. Notice that this particular test statistic for the data actually landed. It's really close to 0. So in this case here, since it's close to 0, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. See right here, that's a critical value. If it's greater than, it's not greater than. So we fail to reject the null hypothesis. Part E, there is not enough evidence at the 10% level to conclude the number of times former smokers tried to quit is dependent on gender. So there's some relationship there called is dependent on gender.